The book of Genesis recounts how, as humanity spread across the earth, God decided that humans would no longer live beyond 120 years. Before this decree, Adam's descendants were said to have lived for centuries, some even surpassing 900 years. However, not long after making this decision, Genesis 6 reveals that God beheld the increasing wickedness of mankind. Grieved by their corruption, or perhaps weary of their sinful ways, God lamented creating humanity. In Genesis 6:7 he declares, "I will wipe out these people that I have created, along with the animals and the birds, for I regret that I made them." Yet amidst the widespread depravity, there was one exception, Noah. Genesis 6:9-10 introduces Noah as a righteous man who walked with God. He had 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. It is implied that Noah was one of the last, if not the only, faithful servant of God in a world consumed by sin. Everywhere else, wickedness had taken root and violence filled the earth. Seeing this, God revealed to Noah his plan to bring an end to humanity, explaining that their cruelty and evil had reached an unbearable height. He instructed Noah to construct an ark from durable timber, making ample space within and sealing it with tar, both inside and out. God provided precise dimensions for the vessel, stating it should be 133 meters long, 22 meters wide, and 13 meters high. He commanded Noah to build a roof, leaving a 44-centimeter gap between it and the sides for ventilation. Then, in a solemn decree, he announced that everything on earth would perish. However, he made a covenant with Noah, promising to spare him and his family. As the time of judgment drew near, Genesis 7 describes how God commanded Noah to enter the ark with his household, declaring him the only righteous man on earth. He was given an extraordinary task: to bring 7 pairs of every clean animal and a single pair of each unclean animal. The distinction between clean and unclean animals, though explicitly detailed later in Leviticus 11, is not explained in Genesis. It is assumed that God provided Noah with this knowledge directly, as Noah does not question or seek clarification. Remarkably, throughout the entire account, Noah remains silent, obeying every command without protest or inquiry. Leviticus later defines clean animals as those that chew the cud and have split hooves, including cattle, deer, goats, and sheep. Birds such as chickens, doves, and ducks were also considered clean, alongside certain insects like locusts and grasshoppers. Unclean animals, however, included pigs, dogs, cats, horses, donkeys, and rodents. Even some birds, like owls, hawks, and vultures, were deemed unclean, as were reptiles and amphibians. Though Genesis does not specify how Noah identified these classifications, it is assumed that God imparted the necessary guidance. God warned Noah that in 7 days rain would fall upon the earth for 40 days and 40 nights, bringing total devastation. Noah, ever faithful, followed every instruction without hesitation. By the time the flood arrived, Noah was 600 years old. On the 17th day of the 2nd month, he, his wife, his sons, and their wives boarded the ark. Then the great fountains of the deep burst forth, and the floodgates of heaven opened, drenching the earth exactly as God had foretold. As the torrential rain fell, Noah's mission was fulfilled. Every kind of creature, domestic and wild, large and small, was safely inside the ark. God himself shut the door behind them. The floodwaters surged for 40 days, lifting the ark until it floated above even the highest mountains. Genesis 7:21-23 delivers a sobering confirmation of the catastrophe. Every living creature on earth perished, every bird, every beast, every human, everything that drew breath was destroyed. The Lord wiped out all life on earth, leaving only Noah and those with him in the ark. For 150 days the waters remained. When they finally began to recede, Noah sent out birds to test if dry land had emerged. When they no longer returned, he knew the earth had dried. By the time Noah was 601 years old, meaning he had been aboard the ark for a full year, God commanded him to leave, bringing the animals with him, so they could repopulate the earth. Upon stepping onto solid ground, Noah built an altar and offered burnt sacrifices from the clean animals. The aroma pleased God, and in Genesis 8:21 he vowed, "Never again will I curse the earth because of mankind." Thus, a new beginning was set in motion, shaped by divine mercy and the enduring covenant between God and Noah. The book of Genesis tells us that as humanity spread across the earth, God determined that mankind would no longer live beyond 120 years. Before this decree, Adam's descendants were said to have lived for centuries, some reaching or even surpassing 900 years. However, as time passed, Genesis 6 reveals that God saw the increasing wickedness of humanity. Grieved by what he had created, God lamented over mankind's corruption and even regretted bringing them into existence. In Genesis 6:7 he declares, "I will wipe out these people whom I have created, along with the animals and the birds, for I regret that I have made them." Yet amidst the vast depravity, one man stood apart, Noah. Genesis 6:9-10 introduces Noah as a righteous man, blameless among his generation, and faithful to God. He had 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Unlike the rest of the world, Noah remained devoted to God, living according to his will. In contrast, humanity had fallen into unrestrained evil, and violence had overtaken the earth. Seeing this, God revealed his plan to Noah. The world would be purged, and only Noah and his household would be spared. God commanded Noah to construct an ark from gopher wood, sealing it inside and out with pitch. He provided precise dimensions, 133 meters in length, 22 meters in width, and 13 meters in height. The ark was to have a roof with a 44-centimeter opening beneath it for ventilation. God then declared his solemn judgment, "Everything on earth will perish, but I will establish my covenant with you." In Genesis 7, God instructed Noah to enter the ark with his family, for he alone was found righteous. He was also given a seemingly impossible task, to bring 7 pairs of every clean animal and 1 pair of each unclean animal. Though Genesis does not detail how Noah knew which animals were clean, it is assumed that God imparted this knowledge to him. Remarkably, Noah does not question or resist. He simply obeys. According to Leviticus 11, clean animals included those that chew the cud and have split hooves, such as cattle, deer, goats, and sheep. Birds like chickens, doves, and ducks were also clean, as well as certain insects, including locusts. Unclean creatures, however, included pigs, dogs, cats, horses, and rodents, along with various birds of prey, reptiles, and amphibians. After 7 days, the flood began. As Noah turned 600 years old, the fountains of the great deep burst forth, and the heavens opened. Rain poured unceasingly for 40 days and nights, covering the earth. As the waters surged, the ark was lifted high above the mountains. Then the Lord shut him in. The floodwaters engulfed the world, and every living thing perished, humans, beasts, and birds alike. Genesis 7:21-23 starkly confirms this fate. Every creature that had the breath of life in its nostrils died. Only Noah and those with him in the ark remained. For 150 days the waters dominated the earth before they began to recede. Noah sent out birds to test whether dry land had emerged, and when the dove failed to return, he knew the earth was habitable once more. In the 601st year of his life, God commanded Noah to leave the ark, releasing the animals to repopulate the world. Upon stepping onto dry ground, Noah built an altar and offered burnt sacrifices from the clean animals. The aroma pleased the Lord, and in Genesis 8:21 God vowed, "Never again will I curse the ground because of mankind, even though every inclination of the human heart is evil from childhood. Never again will I destroy all living creatures as I have done." In Genesis 9, God blessed Noah and his sons, commanding them to be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth. He affirmed man's dominion over animals, declaring that every living creature would now fear humanity, and that all creatures, along with plants, were given for food. However, one restriction remained. You must not eat meat with the blood still in it, for life is in the blood. Furthermore, God established the principle of justice. Anyone who sheds human blood will themselves be subject to death. As a sign of his covenant, God placed a rainbow in the sky, promising that never again would he destroy the earth by flood. Genesis 9:14-17 states, "Whenever I cover the sky with clouds and the rainbow appears, I will remember my covenant with you and all living creatures. The flood will never again destroy all life." The story of Noah and the flood serves as a powerful reminder of God's justice and mercy. It demonstrates his authority to judge and his willingness to purge evil when necessary. Some see it as a warning, a testament to what happens when humanity turns away from righteousness. Others view Noah as an example of faith and obedience, a man who walked with God and was spared because of his devotion. Yet the flood narrative also reveals that God is not sentimental. He does not hesitate to destroy what he has created when it strays too far from his will. This tale warns that life is not to be taken for granted, for divine judgment can come suddenly and without warning. Even though mankind had lived in sin for generations, God had seen everything and recorded it all. When the time came, he did not waver. At the same time, God's mercy is evident. He spares Noah, his family, and even the animals. This could suggest that those who remain faithful may not only save themselves, but also their loved ones. However, one cannot ignore the harsh reality that countless innocent animals perished in the flood, illustrating that God's plans unfold without compromise. Interestingly, a parallel story exists in the ancient Sumerian epic of Gilgamesh. This tale describes a hero who, like Noah, is chosen to survive a divine flood by constructing a vessel. He gathers animals, follows his God's instructions, and witnesses the destruction of the world. He even releases birds to find dry land and offers sacrifices once the flood subsides. Some scholars argue that the biblical account may have drawn inspiration from this older narrative, reinterpreting it through a monotheistic lens. There are those who question God's promise never to flood the earth again. Some skeptics argue that it was a test, meant to see if humanity would grow complacent under the assurance of immunity. Others believe God was sincere in his vow, yet he does not need to intervene directly. Humankind is capable of bringing destruction upon itself. Indeed, as we look around today, it seems that humanity is steadily moving toward its own downfall. Perhaps this is why God made the promise, not because he regretted the flood, but because he foresaw that mankind would ultimately be responsible for its own demise. What do you think? Was the flood a necessary act of divine justice? Or does it reveal a deeper message about humanity's fate? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below.